If slow, emotional stories about broken people finding a home again touch your heart, please like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the next cinematic story on this channel. Snow drifted over Maple Harbor in thin, glowing lines, catching every streetlight as if the town had been placed under glass. On Christmas Eve, Main Street was bright and busy. Shop windows burned with warm yellow light. People carried paper bags and wrapped boxes. Someone laughed too loudly outside the cafe, the sound spilling out with the steam. Just beyond the square, St. Gabriel's church rose out of the night. Its stained glass was dark now, but candles flickered behind the front doors, and the bell tower glowed. On the stone steps, a woman sat alone. Aria Bennett drew her coat tighter and tried to make herself small. Wind slid under the hem anyway. The cold went straight through jeans, into bone. Her suitcase sat beside her, scuffed and tired. Her gloveless hands shook around a single sheet of paper. The letter had only one line. "Dear Mom, I'm sorry." The ink blurred where her pen had paused. The words said almost nothing, and somehow everything. She had been a music teacher, once. A classroom full of recorders and small hands and songs about seasons. A bulletin board with cutout notes and "music is our heart's language" in crooked letters. Then her mother's voice had broken on the word doctor, and everything else had begun to unravel. Cancer, pancreas, late stage. Aria had quit mid-year to sit by a hospital bed. Parents had complained. The principal had frowned, talked about continuity of education. None of that mattered. Only the beep of monitors, the smell of antiseptic, the way her mother's fingers never let go of the treble clef necklace resting on Aria's collarbone. Bills had stacked up like a cruel kind of tower. She had sold the apartment, the piano, the car. Each thing going out the door felt like another piece of who she'd been. Her mother had died anyway. Now Aria had a necklace, a suitcase with clothes that smelled faintly of bleach, a handful of shelter intake forms. And this step, wind lifted a strand of her hair. She tucked it behind her ear, staring at the half-written page. The shelter on the edge of town was full. If someone didn't show up by midnight, she might get a bed. If not, she had the blanket rolled at the bottom of the suitcase and the stone. Her stomach was empty enough that it no longer complained. Her hands hurt. Her chest hurt more. "Excuse me," a small voice said. Aria flinched. She looked up. A little girl stood one step below, bundled in a red coat and a white hat with a pom-pom that drooped over one eye. She held a paper cup in both hands, steam curling into the air. The girl's cheeks were pink from the cold. Her eyes were wide and serious. "You look cold," she said. Aria forced the corners of her mouth up. "I'll be all right," she said. Her breath showed in the air. "Thank you." The girl didn't move. She set the cup down on the step, tugged off one of her mittens, and held it out. "Here," she said, "so one of your hands doesn't hurt." "I can't take your glove," Aria said. "You'll freeze." The girl shook her head. "I have a house," she said calmly. "You have a rock." She had a point. Aria slid the mitten over her right hand. It was too small. The knit stretched, but the warmth was real. "Thank you," she whispered. The girl studied her face. "You look sad too," she added. Aria let out a sound that was almost a laugh and almost a sob. "It's been a long year," she said. The girl hesitated. "Can I hug you?" she asked. Aria's throat closed. No one had asked that in months. People had touched her. Yes, pats on the arm. The impersonal press of hands during an intake. The steady grip of a nurse adjusting a blanket. But a real hug, given freely. Just because she looked sad, that felt as far away as her old classroom. "You don't have to," Aria said quickly. "I want to," the girl replied. She climbed up one step, small boots scraping stone, and wrapped her arms around Aria's shoulders. The hug was awkward and fierce and entirely sincere. Aria meant to keep it together. She didn't. Tears came in a rush, hot and sudden. Her face pressed into the soft wool of the hat. She clung to the child like she was the last solid thing in a world made of water. The girl didn't pull back. She patted Aria's back in small, unsteady circles. "It's okay," she murmured. "My mom died too. Sometimes I just cry. Dad says it's my heart making room. The words lodged in Aria's chest. I'm sorry, she gasped. Me too, the girl said quietly. Lily, a man's voice called from inside the church. Where'd you go? The girl lifted her head. I'm here, she shouted. I found someone who's cold. The doors opened wider. Warm light spilled across the landing, and a man stepped out, breath clouding the air. He wore a dark coat and a gray scarf, the ends tucked in neatly. His hair was slightly mussed, as if his fingers had been through it too many times. Lines bracketed his mouth, not from age, but from repeated worry. His gaze went straight to the girl, then to the woman she was hugging, then to the suitcase, the letter, the single mitten. Lily, he said, crossing to them. You can't just run off. She was freezing. Lily protested, and sad, I fixed it. His eyes met Aria's. He saw the hollowness under her eyes, the way she tried to pull herself upright, even when every part of her looked exhausted. He saw the treble clef at her throat, dull in the light. I'm sorry, he said. His voice was low, steady. She collects people. I'm Caleb Monroe. This is my daughter, Lily. Aria, she managed. Aria Bennett. Caleb glanced at the step. Are you waiting for someone? He asked. She shook her head. Do you have somewhere to go tonight? He tried again. The truth sat heavy on her tongue. No, she said. Not really. The shelter, he asked. Full, she replied. They said to come back after midnight, in case someone doesn't show. Caleb's jaw tightened. Lily looked up at him. Dad, she whispered, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. She can't stay on a rock. It's Christmas. Caleb looked between them. The girl with his wife's hazel eyes and stubborn chin. The woman still clutching a half-written letter like it was the only thing keeping her here. You could come inside, he said slowly. At least for hot soup. It's warmer than this step. Aria swallowed. I don't want to be a problem, she said. You're not, Lily cut in. Caleb's gaze softened. It's a church, he said. If there's any place we're supposed to take in someone who's cold, it's here. He held out his hand, not pulling, just offering. Aria stared at it for a second. Then she slipped her mittened fingers into his bare ones. He helped her up, picked up her suitcase as if it weighed nothing, and led her through the open door. Inside, Gabriel's felt like another world. Heat radiated from old radiators. Candles flickered along the walls. The air smelled like pine branches and something sweet from the kitchen cinnamon, maybe, and cocoa. People moved between tables, carrying bowls of soup, plates of cookies. A small choir rehearsed near the front, their voices twining around the organ. Caleb guided Aria to a chair near a radiator. Sit, he said gently. I'll get you something hot. She nodded, suddenly shy, hands tucked into her lap. Lily plopped down beside her. I like your necklace, Lily said. Is it for music? Aria touched the silver treble clef without thinking. My mom gave it to me. She said it was our secret code. When I wore it, it meant we were speaking in songs. Do you still speak in songs, Lily asked. Not for a while, Aria admitted. Caleb returned with a foam cup of hot chocolate topped with uneven marshmallows and a bowl of soup so hot it steamed in the cold air. Careful, he said, setting them down. It's hot. Thank you, Aria said. Her fingers burned pleasantly as she wrapped them around the cup. The first sip made her eyes sting. It tasted like childhood, sugar and cheap cocoa and kindness. Caleb took the chair on Lily's other side. So, he said quietly, what kind of songs did you used to speak? Aria smiled faintly. The sticky kind, she said. Ones that get stuck in your head. I taught music. At an elementary school. Like mine, Lily asked. Maybe, Aria said. Just somewhere else. What happened? Caleb asked. My mom got sick. She said, cancer. I left in the middle of the year to take care of her. They hired someone else. After she died, there wasn't a classroom to go back to. There was a small pause. I'm sorry, he said. How long has it been for you, she asked. 2 years, he replied. My wife, Jenna, died in a car accident. She was on her way to pick up a cake for Lily's 5th birthday. He kept his voice even, but the words still scraped on the way out. Sometimes it feels like that day split everything in half, he added. Before, after. We've been living in the after ever since. Lily's hand found his. I'm 7 now, she announced. Almost 8, Aria said gently. Almost 8, Lily agreed. The service began. People moved into the sanctuary. Candles were handed down the rows, flames passing from wick to wick. Aria found herself in a pew beside Lily, with Caleb on the other side, the bowl of soup warming her from the inside. The choir started, "O come, all ye faithful." The notes rose into the high ceiling, echoing. Aria's throat closed. Her mother had sung this carol at this very church, had stood in these very pews, hands clasped, voice low but strong. Without meaning to, Aria opened her mouth and joined the alto line. Her voice came out rusty but true. It slipped into the harmonies as if it had always belonged there. Lily stared up at her. You sing like Mom, she whispered. Caleb heard it. His eyes stung. Don't stop, he murmured. So Aria didn't. She sang through silent night, through joy to the world, her voice steadying, her ribs feeling less like a teen and more like a resonant chamber. When the last amen faded, people spilled back out into the cold for carols around the tree. The brass band played, children squealed and bounced, snow-dusted hair and hats. Aria hung back at the edge. Then Lily's small hand slid into hers. Sing with us, she said, please. It was the same plea as before, just in different words. Aria took a slow breath. The band started Hark the Herald Angels Sing. Voices rose. She joined them. This time, she didn't hold back. Her harmony wrapped around Lily's clear melody. Their two voices, one small and new, one tired and tender, braided together. When the song ended, Lily was almost vibrating. That was fun, she declared. Dad, can Aria come home with us, just so she's not cold? The square buzzed around them. The tree lights blinked. Somewhere in the distance, a gull cried over the dark water. Caleb looked at Aria. I don't want to overstep, he said. We don't know each other. And I know you're not a project. But we have a guest room. It's empty. It has a door that locks from the inside. You would have a bed, at least for tonight. Aria's first instinct was to refuse. She didn't want her gratitude to turn into debt. She didn't want to feel the warmth of something she couldn't keep. But Lily's face was wide open, eyes full of hope, and something that looked painfully like faith. Just for tonight, Aria said. So you don't worry. That's my line, Caleb replied, a little smile pulling at his mouth. He picked up her suitcase again. They walked to his car through the falling snow, a small line of 3 under a sky that seemed, for the first time in a long while, less like a lid and more like a covering. Caleb's house on Maple Street was not grand, but it was solid. Blue-gray siding, a porch swing, a wreath that Jenna had made the year before she died, fake berries still bright. Inside, the air was warm and smelled like pine and laundry detergent. A tree stood in the corner of the living room, lights twinkling, ornaments collected over years. Some had Lily's toddler handprints on them, smears of paint with dates underneath. Family photos climbed the wall up the stairs. Jenna's face smiled from several, laughing on the harbor, hair whipped by wind, holding a baby with tired, radiant joy, standing at this very piano, fingers on the keys, Lily perched on top, grinning. The piano now sat covered with a thin layer of dust. Aria's chest tightened. She slipped out of her boots, suddenly aware of the salt stains. I'll grab some clothes for you, Caleb said. We can toss yours in the wash. He disappeared down the hall. Lily dragged Aria into the living room. This was Mom's piano, she said. It's been sleeping, like a bear. Aria smiled faintly. Maybe it's ready to wake up, she replied. Caleb returned with a stack of folded clothes. These were Jenna's, he said. If that feels strange, I can find one of my sweaters instead, but these will fit better. Aria ran her fingers over the soft gray fabric. It's okay, she said. I don't mind borrowing from a stranger who liked music. His eyes softened. Bathroom's down the hall on the left, he said. Take your time. There's hot water. She nodded. In the mirror, under bright light, she hardly recognized herself. Hollowed cheeks, shadows under her eyes, the necklace, a thin line of silver in a world gone gray. The shower was loud and hot and felt like standing under forgiveness. Jenna's sweater was soft and warm. It hung loose on her frame, sleeves a little long, hem brushing her thighs. It smelled faintly of cedar and something floral that had long since faded. When she stepped back into the living room, Lily's eyes lit up. That was Mom's favorite, Lily said happily. She wore it when we baked cookies. She'd like that you have it. Caleb watched Aria as she crossed the room. The sweater made her look less like a visitor and more like someone who had stepped into a life mid-story. Do you play? He asked, nodding toward the piano. Aria's fingers twitched. Yes, she said. I used to. A lot. Will you? Lily asked immediately. Aria hesitated. I haven't in a while, she said. It might sound rusty. Rusty music is still music, Lily said. Aria laughed under her breath. She lifted the fallboard. The keys gleamed. She sat. Her hands hovered for a moment, empty above the white and black. Then she began to play the lullaby. It came out slowly at first, each note tested, then steadier as her fingers remembered paths carved years ago. The melody was simple, rising and falling like breath. Lily's eyes softened. She moved closer, resting her chin on the edge of the piano. Halfway through, her voice joined in, soft, clear. The same lullaby Jenna had sung to her in this very room. Caleb leaned in the doorway, heart lodged in his throat. He had tried to play that song once after Jenna's death. His fingers had failed him. Lily had clapped her hands over her ears and run upstairs. Now the room held the tune again, and Lily didn't flinch. When the last note faded, the silence that followed was warm, not empty. Again, Lily whispered. Aria smiled. Tomorrow, she said. My hands need to remember they exist. Lily considered this. Okay, she said. Then you have to stay tomorrow too. Caleb cleared his throat. We'll see, he said. But the idea had already rooted itself somewhere deep. That night, Lily insisted Aria be the one to tuck her in. Aria stood at the doorway to Lily's room, hand on the frame, heart pounding like she'd been asked to cross a tightrope. Stuffed animals lined the bed. Crayon drawings covered the walls, a piano, a house, a stick figure family. Lily crawled under the covers and looked up expectantly. Will you sing? She asked. Aria sat on the edge of the bed. She sang the lullaby again, voice softer, the notes winding around the girl like a blanket. By the time she reached the last phrase, Lily's eyes were closed. Her breathing had slowed. Good night, Aria whispered. In the hallway, Caleb waited. How'd it go? He asked. She's brave, Aria said. Letting someone new in, like that. So are you, he replied. She looked down. I'm just tired, she said. Tired people can be brave too, he said. He pointed toward the end of the hall. Guest room's there, he said. If there's anything you need, knock. If you'd rather pretend this is a very vivid dream and run in the morning, I'll at least make sure you have breakfast first. Aria smiled, small but real. Thank you, she said. In the guest room, the bed was made with simple sheets in a faded quilt. A lamp cast soft light. There was a small bookshelf with paperbacks, a chair in the corner. It felt like a place someone had thought about, not just a spare space. She lay down on the bed and stared at the ceiling. I'm not alone tonight, she whispered to the dark. It felt like a confession. Sleep came, halting and full of strange dreams, but gentler than it had in months. Morning arrived with the smell of coffee and toast. Aria woke to the sound of cartoons down the hall and Lily's laughter echoing up the stairs. For a few seconds, her brain tried to place the noise in the shelter, in a hospital lounge, on a bus. Then memory slid back into place. She pulled on her own jeans, Jenna's sweater, and padded down to the kitchen. Caleb stood at the stove, frying eggs. Lily sat at the table drawing a snowman with far too many buttons. Good morning, he said, glancing over. She felt oddly shy. Morning, she replied. We made breakfast, Lily announced. Dad did the eggs. I supervised the toast. That explains the charcoal, Caleb said dryly. The edges are just extra flavor, Lily said. Aria laughed. She reached for plates, moving on instinct. The ease of small domestic tasks surprised her. Pour juice, place forks, slide into the rhythm of a kitchen. Over coffee, Caleb cleared his throat. I have to open the store today, he said. We're closing early, but people still forget they need batteries for gifts at the last minute. What do I do? Lily asked. Hannah's stuck in Boston. They canceled flights. Caleb frowned. I can take her with me, he said. Set her up in the back with crayons. It's not ideal, but I can stay, Aria said. He looked up. With Lily, she clarified quickly, if you're comfortable with that, I have nowhere else to be, and I'm used to keeping small people alive. Lily beamed and, yes, she said. Caleb hesitated. Hannah's voice rang in his head, full of warnings and worry. The idea of leaving his daughter with someone he had known less than 24 hours would have terrified him once. It still scared him. But then he remembered Lily's voice on the carols, her laugh yesterday, the way she had slept soundly for the first time in weeks. Okay, he said finally, if you're sure. Aria nodded. They spent the day building a snowman that listed to one side, drinking cocoa, and playing clumsy duets at the piano. The guest room didn't feel like a hotel anymore when she went to bed. It felt like a place she might possibly belong. By the third day, it was less a question of whether she was staying and more a question of how to describe it. Caleb answered that when he came home from the hardware store, shook snow from his coat, and said over dinner, I have a thought. Lily's eyes sparkled. I like thoughts, she said. Not all of them, he said, but maybe this one. He looked at Aria. I need help, he said simply. With Lily, with schedules, with remembering she has a concert when I'm knee-deep in invoices. You need a place to land. She needs music. He took a breath. What if you stayed, he said, for longer than a night lived here? In the guest room, helped with Lily, taught a few lessons to kids who can't afford them. I'd pay you. It wouldn't be much, but it would be steady. Lily didn't even wait. Yes, she said. Aria's heart thudded. I don't want to be a burden, she said, or a pity project. You wouldn't be, Caleb replied. You'd be part of the system that keeps this house standing. It was more commitment than she'd had from anyone in a long time. More risk, too. But when she looked at Lily's hopeful face, at the small pencil-stained hands, at the tree in the corner with its mismatched ornaments, she felt something shift in her chest. I'll stay, she said, for a while. Lily squealed. Caleb smiled, relief slipping through his careful calm. Okay, he said. Then we'll make a plan. The next days were good. Fragile. New. Aria walked Lily to school, hand in hand, through slush. She waited at the gate in the afternoon, heart unexpectedly tight when the girl came racing toward her with paint on her sweater and stories about math. In the afternoons, they stood at the piano, working through simple songs. Lily's fingers were small but determined. Her voice grew stronger. Caleb came home to drawn pictures on the fridge and the sound of someone humming over dinner. For the first time since Jenna died, the house felt less like a museum and more like a place breathing. It could have stayed like that. But Hannah arrived, saw an unfamiliar coat on the hook, and everything cracked. She confronted Aria, raised her fears, brought the social worker back into the picture. The word unstable was thrown around like a knife. Caleb found himself caught between the woman who had stepped into his broken life and the sister-in-law who had held pieces of it up while he fell apart. The letter from the city school came then too, landing in Aria's inbox like an escape hatch. A job, full-time music teacher, housing on campus, stability wrapped in neat bullet points. She stared at the screen until the words blurred. Do you want it? Caleb asked quietly that night. Yes, she said. No, I don't know. It's safer, he said. For me, she replied, not for Lily. Because if she left, Lily's world would tilt again. Another adult gone, another empty space at the piano. I won't ask you to stay out of guilt, he said. I won't stay out of fear, she answered. In the small room at St. Gabriel's where folding chairs went to rest, they all sat down with the social worker. Caleb, Aria, Hannah, Lily, legs swinging, crayons lined up in front of her like soldiers. Questions were asked, fears were named. Aria offered to leave if that was what would keep Lily safest. Then Lily spoke. Her voice shook, but her words didn't. If you make Aria go away because you think I'll be safer, she said, looking from adult to adult, I won't feel safe. I'll feel alone. Even if people are here and I don't want more leaving. I want staying. Silence followed. The social worker closed her notebook. I don't see a child in danger here, she said gently. I see a family in progress. If everyone is willing to do the work, I'm not going to stand in the way of that. Hannah's eyes filled. She turned to Aria. I was scared, she admitted, of losing what's left of my sister, of being replaced, of you taking up space in pictures where she used to be. That wasn't fair to you, or to Lily. She took a breath. I'm still scared, she said, but I'd rather be scared together than keep making her pay for it. It was not a dramatic apology. It was better. It was real. Aria nodded, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. Thank you, she said. The city job still existed. The housing, the safe distance. But when the principal from the Maple Harbor School and the pastor approached her after the spring concert, envelope in hand, and offered her the director role for the new community music program, she felt the click of something falling into place. Funded by the Monroe Family Fund, the pastor said. Aria looked at Caleb in disbelief. You did this, she asked. Hannah, too, he said. We thought the town could use more songs, and we knew who could lead them. She held the offer letter. She thought of the kids in the choir, of Lily's fingers on piano keys, of the way her mother had always said music was meant to be shared where it was most needed. I want this, she said simply. Then it's yours, the principal replied. Aria did not move back to the city. She moved her suitcase fully into the guest room and took old textbooks out of boxes. She wrote out lesson plans and song lists on sticky notes that ended up on every surface. Summer came, and with it, long evening. One warm night, they returned to the church steps. Aria stood in the spot where she'd once sat, letter half written, body half frozen. Caleb reached for her hand. Last Christmas Eve, he said quietly, you were trying not to disappear on these steps. Lily was trying to find something to hold on to. I was trying to get through the night without shattering. He knelt. She stared down at him, breath caught. He opened a small box. This year, he said, Mom, I'm asking you to stay. Not as a guest, not as a temporary fix, as home, as my partner, as Lily's, whatever word she chooses. Mom, Lily's voice piped up from behind. She was balancing a jar of fireflies, face glowing. I choose Mom. Tears blurred Aria's view. Yes, she said. The word felt like music. Caleb slid the ring onto her finger. It fit. He stood and pulled her into his arms. Lily piled in, wrapping them both in her small, fierce hug. On the stone, in the soft summer air, 3 people stayed where once one had almost left for good. In the living room that night, the piano was open. Photos looked down from the wall, old and new, Jenna and Aria, past and present, not erased, just sharing space. Aria sat at the piano. Lily leaned against her side. Caleb stood close enough that his hand could rest lightly on her shoulder. Play the lullaby, Lily said. The happy way. Aria smiled. She played. The melody was the same as it had always been, but now every note carried the weight of all that had happened since the first time she'd played it in this room. Grief, cold, a mitten, a hug, a choice to stay. Lily sang, voice steady and clear. Caleb closed his eyes and listened. From the street, the house looked ordinary. Just another home with lights on and curtains half drawn. From inside, it felt like something close to a miracle. On the wall near the piano, in a simple frame, hung Aria's letter. The page was no longer blank after that first line. Dear Mom, I'm not sorry anymore. I'm home,